for himself. Buddha Musemi, Dhamma Musemi, Sangha Musemi, Arahanadi, Nawagunehi, Anansajito, Kuvado Gunarune, Namanagada, Izuno Mudo, Natra, Lunabyama, Nadawadu-i, Kuwaya Sinzi, Pido Mudo, Buddha, Adotisha, Nabinyumyaswabiyago, Udida Yimayui, Siddhiyada, Dadu Siddhi, Dhamma Siddhi, Udida Siddhi, Privoga Siddhi Dobhya Wana Ganda, Radha Dhabana, Asena, Yada Dode, Yizuna Muda, Ima, Veda Pada, Karaniya, Bosniya, Iswankebwe, Bosen Chuche, Yada Pyabya Gulabao, Imam Baniyasa, Nanshinjile, Idabdo Isegulabao, Imani Bobanisa, Yantesa, Ibano Gulagao, Imani Pribanisa, Tenenini, Isimilia Gulagao, Ema, Rashulas Wapie, Lunambagoi, Sakabagoi, Shibia, Miyamaga, Vidodoi, Idambonya, Ikamudi, Adawakyawaha, Adawadaya, Livaroi, Uyagunyabyato, Nibanchandago, Yasaunadi, Odu, Muchamadui, Pipazidadi, Idobuya, Miabonyago, Jida Mieka, Miamodau, Makajuda, Jesu Ashe, Wemigene, Paganoa, Yanyavazi, Miawi, Madwe Nesa, Ikayago, Sauda Beda, Uzaunale, Malasia, Piwikai, Vidasvinya, Siyadama, Uwagasa, Imarasa, Diwayaka, Indaboma, Akadana, Tumaye, Amyabonya, Udarago, Yajavazi, Myawi, Tabithada, Tadawahu, Nanaloka, Nandadwe, Mapyasela, Tadawada, Ongwade, Vinyanatidi, ရှိခုနှစ်ပါးမြတ်စွာလုံးစုံဘုံ31ဖြစ်ဖြစ်သမျှဝိနည်းအားမြတ်ကုသိုလ်ရတဲ့ကုပေးဝေလို၏ထိုကုသလမြတ်ဘုံညာကိုအမြတ်ရကြသည်ဖြစ်ပါစေဟုသောဝတ္တုပရိဤမြေပန်သူသီလထုလေသက်သည်အမှုဒီစေသောအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်အာမုဒ္ဒမာဟုလောအာဒုအာဒုအာဒုအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်အာမုဒ္ဒမာဟုလောအာဒုအာဒုအာဒုအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်အာမုဒ္ဒမာဟုလောအာဒုအာဒုအာဒု
Don't. Anybody who wants to touch the table, come out.
You can touch the table. Sangasa, Dema, Nimanasa, Pachayo, Hodu,
My name is Don, and I first came to Project Reach probably in 1984. I was running into Reach looking for a young person that I was working for, and I ran up the stairs looking for this young person because he was kind of part of the gangs. And as I got up to the top of the stairs of the second floor of a Reach that you guys don't know, except for me, somebody said, Don Cow, and I looked back and it was David Chen, who I went to college with and made salads and desserts at the college cafeteria. And he was the director of Project Reach, and he asked me to come on board. And so that's when I first came to Project Reach.
My name is Jen Tan. I went to Project Reach. I was at Project Reach beginning of the year 2000, and I was 17, and it was a summer job through CPC for the Summer Youth Employment Program, and it sounded like a really different way of making some cash. And just, and doing like anti-discrimination workshops. It was pretty cool and, pretty life-changing for me. And that's where I met a lot of you guys, and that's where I met Fay and Don.
My name is Ron. Came to Project Reach in like 2006, I think. I was working on Staten Island with lots of youth activists. I was actually the president of the youth activist organization, and we started working with Project Reach based on all the struggles that were happening on Staten Island, but then essentially like many race wars that were happening. So they got to meet Fay and really learn about the revolutionary that she was, like just in everything, in all facets of her life, and her art, and the actual work that she did growing up, and actually living in New York City and seeing all the changes happen. And it was this wealth of knowledge that she just had, that she was able to supply me as a young leader, to actually go forth and continue on the mission that I set forth on. So I always thank her for the inspiration that she gave me.
I'm Claire. I came to Reach in 2013 when I was still in high school and went through the youth program and then became youth staff. And after Alexis, I don't know if you know her, she used to run the women's group, and when she left, I took over. And every Friday I would have lunch with Fay. And it was just really sweet spending that time. And she had such a wealth of knowledge and really cared about the young women and the young men in the space. And she was always so supportive of the group. And it's something I miss a lot, the people and the conversations we'd all have.
My name is Mei Fong. I first was introduced to Project Reach in 1987. Back then, Chinatown was very different, and Project Reach was really one of the very few organizations that actually serve, youth. And I came across Project Reach during a crisis time in my life where, I was literally one way, and my parents thought I was in a gang, which to this day, Don introduced me as May from again. I was never in a gang. But I met Fay when my dad passed away, and he was sick for a long time, and I had a life insurance that I paid, and when he passed away in 2000, I remember Project Reach, so I called Donna and I said, Donna, I want to drop off, a letter and a donation to Project Reach. And Donna said, okay, I'll be there. And that was like a new location on Orchard Street. So that was the first time I went there. Obviously by then I was like a mom, and, I have grown from that, childhood. And I saw Fay sitting at this table by the front, and I'm like, I'm here for Don. It was kind of awkward because I haven't been in Reach for a long time. Decades. And she's like, oh, Don's going to be here any second. He told me he was going to be late, but not that long. And
Shut up, you guys.
45 minutes later, with a conversation with Fay, Don shows up.
Good timing for me.
Yeah.
That's Don's time.
Yeah, but, what I really think started this whole thing, if Fay wasn't the person she is, I wouldn't have been reintroduced to Project Reach. I wouldn't have been involved for the last 17 years doing fundraising for Project Reach, because I would have left the check, I would have left the thank you card, and I would have gone on with my life. And, and when I saw Don again, and this is also another thing about Don, he's always asking me, what are you doing now? Yeah, and he's always asking your opinions and your voice and things like that, and he's like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, and he's like, so what do you like doing? I'm like, I like giving parties. And Don's like, well, you could help us. And thus, 17 years later, the year 2000, I've been sitting across from Fay, also feeding Fay and eating meals with Fay, because Fay was always at Project Reach. And when we would have these meals for community meetings, planning these events, I always knew Fay was there all the time. So one day I asked Fay, I knew she was, a cancer survivor, and all of a sudden I'm like, Fay, you should really cook for yourself, because that's the most healthiest way of and she's like, May, I'm here at Project Reach all the time. My stove is actually my file cabinet for my books. So whenever I had these community meetings, I would always keep in mind what Fay was eating, what she liked, and one of her favorite dishes called bitter melon. And those who are in the Chinese community, you either like it or hate it, okay? And and I knew if I get Fay's favorite dish, there will probably be 2 or 3 people eating that dish only. And then Don always wanted to eat the meat. So I always had to figure out who's in the room, how many people. But I really enjoy, engaging those time, feeding, and during those times, Fay would talk about being a mother to Chiang. And I was a mom. And, I think one of the things that really scared me was I came from a house that was so dysfunctional, I didn't know how to be a mom. And Project Reach was my home. And, I didn't know if I was going to find that community for the next stage of my life. And I remember I would come to these community board meetings. My daughter would play with Church, the cat.
Oh my gosh.
And I would, and it would be way past her bedtime and in her Catholic school uniform, but she had the best time. And in 2015, she was studying abroad, and Nicholas Don's partner was going to interview her because we had Don's 30th year celebration. And while she was in London, this is what she said. She's like, they asked her what she was most proud of. And she says, I'm most proud of that I am legacy at Project Reach. And my mom was an alumni. And I felt like, oh my God, you know, like it goes on. And this is one of the things that I want Project Reach is like, and Fay had the same idea, you know, it's like this community and this home. Let it go on for future generations, especially when they don't have it in their own home. And I think Fay's kind of made it so that the last 17 years, I had a home, I had someone that I could talk about being a mother, and, you know, and when I saw her in the hospital, you know, like her last lesson, I saw her being a mother too, because she was doing FaceTime with Chiang, and I saw that, and I said, you know, like she's always teaching me these mothering, but not like suffocating kind of mothering, but like empowering option, and, you know, and that's what I really remember Fay the most, that she instilled in me. So.
I'm Carl. My name is Carl. I came into Project Reach about the middle of 1999. I got closer to Fay like around like 2005 after my mom passed, and ever since then, every time there was like something important, I went to Fay or like called her and let her know what was going on.
I am Tracy Ann Cummings, and I came to Project Reach around maybe 2000, 2001. I think Don came to my high school and spoke to some young people, and then my friend told me about, let's go to Project Reach, you know, they pay you during the summer, you learn you know, you learn some stuff. I'm like, okay. And ever since then, I was a participant maybe like 2 summers, and then became a facilitator, and always kind of had that, you know, even if I didn't come to Reach for a long time, you know, always had that connection, and it taught me a lot about, you know, basically knowing your rights and what you as a human being deserve. And what I remember most is Fay. Like, you know, you said Fay taught you, you know, kind of gave you an example of how to be a mom, but I felt like, you know, when you said that, I'm like, Fay was kind of like the Reach mom. You know, whatever, you know, if there was some kind of conflict, she was like, you know, it's okay. And you could just like really, when we're not doing any like, you know, group work, just like sitting, hanging out with her, and her, you know, her knowledge was, you know, wealth, and she was just so warm and open. Like, she was the kindest person that you could ever meet, and, you know, kind of gonna, you know, miss her presence.
I'm Jaden. I came to Reach like 2011, 2012, maybe. And later on the summer, I was in the youth program, but before that, I just want to talk about the fact that she gave me my first art show ever in New York, and then behind that even. Reach was just so like, it's industrial, it was just so perfect. And I remember just trying to limit myself as how much of the venue Reach I would use, and she was like, no, move this and take all this area in here, use all this up. And then I'd be like getting stuck sometimes, and she would be like, no, why don't you do this, that, you can do that, use some glue, da-da-da-da. So helpful to the vision that I was trying to see for myself. And she was really nice. She was really nice. And I didn't at that time. I was going through something with a bout of homelessness, where I was coming from a shelter, a gay shelter, in fact, and they were giving me so much they were just giving me such a hard time. And her and Don, you guys really made it a lot easier for me and the 3 people I came with.
I'm Angelise. I came to the Reach in around 2000, 2001. I met Fay and Don around that time. Even after I left Reach, I still came back and visited, or I called Fay on the phone and talked to her. It was like just recently, and I heard like she passed. I was like devastated, because I was thinking of all the good times we had, and how much she meant to us all. And as people said, she's like a mother to Reed, which is true. That's like your mom away from your mom, which is how much she meant to everybody. And I'm just gonna miss her presence and her knowledge and everything about her.
Matthew, I came to Reach in 2002. The way how I got involved in Reach was my sister introduced me to Reach. And I came to, I remember, I think it's kind of like foggy a little bit. I think I came to an event that my sister invited me out to, me and my mom. And we went to the event. And then from there, I went to the summit. I did Summit Youth that year. And then from there, that's when I met Fay and we like started to engage with Fay. I remember that time was kind of like crazy time when I seen like all these fights and craziness happening in Project Reach, like that usually happens. And and for me, you know, just seeing how wonderful and how well she carried herself and everything, and just being like really, like that was like, to be honest, that was like my really first introduction, like, you know, to like the Asian community, and just seeing how wonderful she presented herself and just the way she carried herself. I was like, wow, you know, there's so much more to know about her and what some of the things that she do and learn about her culture and everything. So for me, like just like the time I've been in the military, I went to the military a few years later, and every time I came back, you know, just even that in that transition, just leaving New York to go to the military. And just the things, just the times we spent together, just the conversations we had, just the encouragement when I wanted to leave and quit. It's just like, and just telling me just to hang in there, it's nearly over, it's nearly finished. You know, it's just like, I just remember those conversations, and it was the world to me. It was a lot. You know, she was a wonderful person, inside, outside. You know, just wonderful. Just even going through now, and just being a professional, like getting to this point, like where, like in my early 30s, it just get to that point where I feel like, you know, she just helped me through, you know, the times when you need that guidance in your life. You know, you go from teen, you know, when you first get there, you're a teenager. You go through your 20s, and now you know, you're older. And now you just see all the things that she's done and how she empowered you to be the best person you could be in general as a human being, and like care for that fellow man regardless of whoever they are, and just see that light and that spirit inside that person, and be that, you know, be that voice of change. So I'm just so happy that I knew her for that time.
My name is Tina. I started off with doing the same thing, 2000 with CBC. My counselor at that time with CBC, he knew I was a lesbian, so then he figured to throw me into Project Reach, introduced me to Nine, like everybody else, Nine's the one time. So I got with her, and then she was like, at that time my English was really broken, so and I was like, I remember like they tried really hard to talk to me in Chinese. So and I was like, you know what? I was like, this place made me feel like real safe and comfortable. And at that time, I also just lost my mom. So I was like, keep going to stay in Reach. I remember one time I had like a tooth problem, so I was like, I had to go to the dentist. She didn't even think about it. She's like, come on, let's go. I'll take you to the dentist. I have it pull off. And then she paid for it. And I was like, she's like, pay me back whenever you got the money. I mean, at that point, like, she made me understand, like, a person is not even how much wealth you can have. It's also about how much you can give back to a community. And I think at that point, even though I left Reach, I'm still doing the work, helping others, and keep my generosity going on.
My name is Danny. I went to Reach around 2004 in the summer because I was working for CBC, the Summer Youth, and they brought a group of us to Reach, and you know, like everyone else, you know, Summer Youth, this is about job, but when I went there, it was a different environment. It felt really different, and Fay was, I met Fay there, but it was just, you know, because of her, she only spoke English, but like when she tried to speak Chinese with me, it was very funny because like we would always get into conversations like, oh, trying to translate this and trying to understand this about each other, and then like she'd tell me about her stories and I would tell her about her stories, and it was just, she was always there for me, and she would always listen, and whenever I asked her for help, she would help me. And in I think like 08, 09, when I was going through like a phase with school, like a phase with college, she was like, you know, why don't you go transfer to Hunter? Because she went to Hunter, and she was willing to write me a recommendation, and she made a call to one of the directors in the administration board and all that, and you know, next thing I know, I was back in school, and it was just one of the things that I think Fay's the most amazing person, because not only is she willing to listen, but she's willing to help. She's really willing to contact any person or any, you know, people that she knows and that she don't know to help you. And it was just, it's very sad that, you know, I don't get to see her, you know, so for me to help her again and, you know, use my contacts, use people I know so I can help her. And it's just something that, you know, I'm really going to miss Fay for. She will always be here for me.
Hi, my name is Jackie. I didn't really come in to reach through like steering thing. I came in through friends, my cousin Danny, got to know Tina, a couple of others, and I eventually just hung out there during the summertime, even though I didn't get paid for it. I eventually just stayed around when everybody had their meetings. Don just had me answer phones. I was the only one just sitting outside. And that's how I eventually got to meet everybody during that year. It was on 2004, 2005. And I got to meet Fay. And my best memory of Fay is, I remember when we used to have lunch and we would go out to, we would actually buy roast duck, the whole thing. And it would be shared amongst like the 5 or 6 of us. We should just buy like a whole duck or 2 whole ducks even. And we just get 2 large white rice and we'd share it. And I don't know if anybody else has seen Fay eat roast duck. She does not use any utensils. She goes all in with her hands. She loves like back meat, like where the skin is, not a lot of meat. And my best memory of her is when I believe she likes to eat the neck. I remember we used to come to the neck and she would tear that up and like she would shred every little bit of meat off that neck. I'm like, Fay, I'm a foodie, I love to eat food. I'm like, you know where to get all the good parts, like all the good food. And she just enjoys it, and like I can just tell how she enjoys her life, you know. And you know, nothing's gonna stop her from, you know, doing anything she wants. And from throughout the years, although I've not had like personal interactions with her, really hung out with her, I know from people what kind of person she is. And she is a true role model to most people and to myself.
I'm Stephanie. I came to Project Reach in 2009, and when I met Fay, it was great, honestly. Like, she was always there for you. It always feels like home, and she always had excellent like advice for you and everything. And you know, everything was difficult. She was always there. She was like my second mother.
I'm Dimon. I came to Reach in 2009, and I've been a youth staff for maybe 5 years afterwards. And then like during those days when I worked at Reach, like usually I thought I was the earlier one, but then it's always Fay I see first, and Don once in a while if he's on time, and Ron. And then when I leave, I thought I was usually late, like around 6, but then Fay is always still there. And then during those times that she was in the space, she's always doing something. She's either maybe like talking to somebody or like just checking in with everybody. So she's always just like supporting other people. And then also she's also like, I guess the first Asian non-traditional woman that I met. So it's sort of like, it inspired me like, oh, it's okay to be, you know, not what you're expected. Like usually my mother would be like, oh, you're a girl, you need to be very gentle, you need to like be polite and everything. But then it was like, I remember, and you know, to be soft-spoken, but then usually I remember every single, like, during the days I'm in the space, I would hear Faye like ha 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 or something like that. And it's totally opposite of what my mom taught me. So it's like, and then she's also an activist. She's very involved, and then I guess that inspired me to also like take. It's not about the money. It's about like the people, the relationship. So sort of like you don't need to be what you're expected. You just gotta be who you are and enjoy yourself, have a good time. But yeah, we'll miss Faye.
My name is Ronaldo, and I came to Reach in 2013. I remember when I came to Reach, I met Don, Ron, Jinan, and Claire. And Gonzalo, which is not here, and Faye, of course. And some of the memories when I was in Reach, it was when I was doing my internship back in high school. I remember talking to Faye about the immigration issues that I was facing since I was adapting to this country, and somehow Faye was relating those issues with me and giving me sympathy and just telling me to keep moving forward, stop looking back, and just her knowledge and the way she was made me feel comfortable and feel like Reach was home to me.
My name's Darren. I came to Project Reach in 2002. It's like 15 years ago, so my memory isn't as good as it used to be. But I don't think I was as close with Faye as the rest of you guys are. But when I think back on it, going back to what you were saying, Faye was, I grew up in the suburbs, and a lot of the Asian adults that I knew were very strict, or they were a certain way, right? Like what you were saying. And Faye was just completely the exact opposite of that. And, I never felt a connection to the way that my parents were or other Asian adults were when I was growing up. But Faye felt more in line with kind of like, like my spirit, like who I feel like I am. And what was amazing about her was just how laid back she was and how much she laughed, and how nurturing she seemed.
I'm Angela. I came to Reach in about 2003. I wasn't part of CPC that first year, but I was the next year. And there's so many great things about Project Reach and Dawn and Faye, and that's how I met Tina. And they really helped me open up as a person, and I've never met like a group of wonderful people, especially coming from like such an abusive home. And for that, I'm really truly grateful.
Nyaya Paribano Bhagavato Tavagatango Namise Paribano Bhagavato Tavagatango Yurida Sadhari Purita Yugani Aja Purita Bhugala Yeda Bhagavato Tavagatango Ahuniyo Bahuniyo Yaginiyo Isali Dharaniyo Anodana Mudya Kidan Lokanta Ewan Buddhan Tarandana Damandani Sabhikawa Yawa Samidadawa Loma Anto Nahidadi Yandoni Medawa Mingalesa Yosamana Botaguna Tatato Babako Dodumina Akada Buddha Nubawina Wina Damindu Yandoni Medawa Mingalesa Yosamana Botaguna Tatato Babako Dodumina Akada Takamanu Wina Wina Damindu Yandoni Medawa Mingalesa Yosamana Botaguna Tatato Babako Dodumina Akada Takamanu Wina Wina Damindu Doga Badasa Nidoga Baya Badasa Nibaya Doga Badasa Nidoga Undu Baby Banido Ida Wadasa Amehi Tamara Munya Tamara Tabe Dewadu Wadandu Tabani Mediya Ana Dandu Tadaya Ila Yadandu Tabada Awana Bidada Undu Kizandu Devada Gada Tabe Buddha Malabada Bizida Neza Yambala Randa Neza Nizina Regan Banda Bitabando Wadu Taba Mingala Regandu Taba Devada Taba Buddha Nuba Wena Radu Bundude Wadu Taba Mingala Regandu Taba Devada Taba Dhamma Nuba Wena Radu Bundude Wadu Taba Mingala Regandu Taba Devada Taba Tanga Nuba Wena Radu Bundude Tabi Yogu Zandu Togo Rogo Unatadu Mane Mono Naya Nuki Tiga Yugobawa Aliwadana Tileda Neza Uda Kasaino Sadaro Dhamma Udandu Ayu Uno Dhamala Yoga Bandaza Nidoga Maya Bandaza Nibia Yoga Bandaza Nidoga Uno the baby Banino. May those people who are suffering free from suffering. May those people who are in danger be free from danger. May all beings who are sorrowful, who are in sorrow, be free from sorrow. Thank you very much. So, Fay Chiang. Yeah, Miss Fay Chiang. I read a note. If we did not have a chance to speak, if we did not see one another before this parting of the spirit, let me say, family and friends, remember a time we spent together, something we loved or cried about, a photograph or story, or read some of my poetry. So very, very, very good, okay, no, very, very good poetry, I think. So she is, whatever she say, according to my reaction, my impression, she belongs to Buddhist nature. The Buddha is for everybody. Buddha, the whole life, to become a Buddha, he had all beings, including animals, risking his life, sometimes risking his life. Those who want to get his eye, so he donated the Buddha. So such kind of person, Buddha. So he always think about it, all beings' happiness. This is the Buddha's nature. So I found in her mind the Buddha's nature. So I think she belongs to Buddha's nature. She is I regard as a good Buddhist. Even some Buddhists, even though a lot of people stick on their leader's name. For example, I'm Buddhist, but they treat other people ugly. This is not Buddhist, even though he's claiming I'm a Buddhist. So that's when the Buddha said, you are, as long as do not follow my words, even though you are holding my rope, say, follow after me, but you won't see me, the Buddha said. The Buddha said like this, you see? So what Buddha is, practice the Dhamma, do your friends' happiness, okay, as your best. In this way, we can become Buddha's nature, Buddha nature. Everybody can become Buddha nature. Okay, so Buddha very pleased those people claiming themselves are Buddhist, but very ugly Buddhist. You see, Buddha disliked it. So Dhamma, morality, practice moral precepts, practice concentration, try to purify your mind, to be free from hatred. Your mind should be free from hatred, delusion, ignorance. Shambhaya, the video do the Longendo, the Bakanga, Bawadaba, Pyangwando, Miss Fay Chiang Yizu Yue, Kudu Kamu, Piloya, Yaku Kanai, Payandeya, Nanga Abye, Doma Azo, Daranagone, Mavando, Dilaro Nyadugu, Can you, Jindo, Saudi Javago E, Shambhaya, Daranago, Doma Ni, Mava Dilago, Can you, Saudi Biwe, Pia Mushido, Dangaro, Shindumiandu Ni, Impay the Pie, Joya Laja Gondo, Embrace the Dua, Dream Wijin, Asashido, Ludogo, Yulo Java Go E, Shambhaya, Davido, Yene Yaku, Miss Fay Chiang Yizu Yue, Yulo Ando, Dana Kamu, Dila Kamu, Bhavana Kamu, Uzugan, Sirana Doja, Davido Rudi, Unadi, Dokha Biru, Kingwe Yama, Nyane Bandu, Legundo Ajin, Limiando, Dinyando Pie, Nyema, Yuya Valugo E, Shambhaya, Yane Yaku, Davido Ru, Kilo Ando, Kudu Kamu E, Apubagago, Miss Fay Chiang Atu Abye, Bewe Ngawa E, Miss Fay Chiang Di, Davido Ru, Bewe Ando, Kudu Kamu E, Apubagago, Yaji Kanza, Sanzaya Dipiwe, Luna Neighbor, Donando, Chandago, Yaji Naimbade, Davido, Yene Yaku, Dilo Ando, Uzugomu E, Apubagago, Gozona, Aizona, Jongzona, Asajido, Namyanaga, Nabonu Alaga, သုံးသက်တကိုကျင်လေကြကုန်သောဒုက္ခိတတတ္တဝါဒုက္ခိတတတ္တဝါအပေါင်းတို့အား၎င်းအမြတ်မေးဝေပါကုန်၏အမြတ်မေးဝေပါကုန်၏အမြတ်မေးဝေပါကုန်၏ Miss Fay Chiang နှင့်တကွာအားလုံးသောတတ္တဝါပေါင်းတို့သည်အမြတ်ရ၍ကိုယ်စိတ်နှပြကျမ်းမာချမ်းသာကြသည်ဖြစ်ကြပါသည်ကုန်သောအားလုံးကြွားကြသည်များအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်ယူတော်မူကြပါကုန်သောသာဓုသာဓုသာဓုအားလုံးကြွားကြသည်များအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်ယူတော်မူကြပါကုန်သောသာဓုသာဓုသာဓုအားလုံးကြွားကြသည်များအမြတ်အမြတ်အမြတ်ယူတော်မူကြပါကုန်သောသာဓုသာဓုသာဓုဒါလေးကတ်တယ်တပါးကဆက်ရိုက်တယ်တော့တပါးကခိုင်းတယ်ပေါ့ဒါဒီတော့ရောက်တဲ့ဆိုင်တိုင်းဆိုင်ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဆိုင်တိုင်းဒီပါလိပြောတယ်
My name is Terry Collins. I came to Project Reach in 2003. I was introduced to the after-school services while I was in high school, and then I started coming to workshops. I first met Fay at a workshop that was being held after school. It was like starting off with that boat exercise. And one thing I remember about Fay is that she always like encouraged me to like fight and not be afraid, be very bold. A very funny memory I have with Fay is Fay was trying to help me get my prom dress, and I was really broke, and Fay was gonna help me buy some fabric in the East Village, and we were gonna make a dress. And I just remember her just like telling me, it'll be fine. She's like, just wear it. Just go in, just style it, and just be like, I made my dress. And I'm like, Fay, I don't know how to make a dress. So that's one of the best memories I have about Fay. And, I will miss her. I'm very sorry I didn't get to say goodbye to her, but she was a wonderful person.
I never thought I would be here standing here like this with all of you, like this, talking about faith. So bear with me. My name is Darius Burrows. I joined Reach in 2007. It was during a really powerful time in my life when I met this powerful woman, Fay. And that was the same year I lost my grandmother to leukemia. And it was really tough for me because I was just used to being around powerful women in my life, powerful women in my family. And my grandmother always exemplified someone who broke ground, who shattered glasses. And to me, when I met Fay after losing my grandmother, Fay was like almost like the second coming of that power source, of someone who created art, who didn't really care about. She didn't really care about boundaries. In fact, boundaries, we create the boundaries. We are the ones who create the lines. We are the ones who cross the lines. And Fay would always push anyone who was an artist, a writer, a designer. If I ever came to her as an artist or as a writer or as someone who just questioned life as it was, she would be there to listen. She would be there to tell you how much you should be pushing yourself. She would be there to tell you how much you should love yourself in the process. She was a woman of process.
She was a woman of absolute love, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I could trust Fay with my life. I could trust Fay with any type of information that I felt like I couldn't share with anybody else. With even outside of myself, I could share that with Fay. Fay would sometimes push boundaries sometimes with some of us, and I love that fact about her. Because we would be in meetings. I remember this is a really funny story, and I'm sure from anybody from 2007 to 2010 can attest to this. My favorite memory of Fay was when we were having a really solemn meeting. It was a meeting that was we were talking about something really serious. It was summertime. Staff got together. Fay sat down at the table. We're in the art space because of course, the art space is Fay's space. So we were in the art space, and we're having this really deep conversation, and staff is looking at each other like, "Fuck, like, damn, like this is what's gonna happen?" And Fay, while we're having this crazy dialogue, is cutting out a mask out of paper. And she's coloring it in. She's not just cutting it out. She's actually coloring it in black. And the moment pauses at the table, and she puts the mask on and looks at everybody. And that, I remember Fay basically saying, like, this is a fucking joke. Like, this is like life as we know it. You need to live it regardless of how solemn or serious things might be. You need to love every minute of it. And in her passing, sorry for going too long, in her passing, I remember all the times where I questioned myself. I remember the times where I questioned the folks around me. And I remember the times she told me to stop questioning and just go. And that's what I remember her now. Just go. Fay, I love you very much. I know you're traveling across the cosmos right now at a speed beyond light, at a speed beyond dreams. But wherever you are, I know that you are loved. You are loved from here. You are loved beyond. And we miss you. I miss you. And I hope that we can walk on those Everglade grasses together again. Across that sand. Across that beach, in that forest, in that cabin, in that book, on those pages. We will be there again together. But right now, we have a job to do. We all have a job to do. In her passing, she has unleashed all of her energy, all of the wisdom upon us. So now we have to uplift. Now is our time. This is a calling. This is not a passing. It's a passing of the torch, but it's a calling for action. Whatever that action may be. If it's art, mathematics, if it's symmetry, I don't care what it is. It's spirituality. Now is the time to uphold it, take it, move with it. Because Fay is saying, just go.
My name is Edward. I came to Project Reach in 2007 through the Summer Youth Employment Program. I met Fay through that. Fay has been so much to me. She's been a mother. She's been a role model to me. She's my hero. There's been so many times in my life where I felt like I was, like falling through the cracks. I come from a really traditional, Chinese family, and like everyone shared, she empowered me to break those boundaries, to break tradition, while respecting it, and that's through art. That's through I make art, I make music and poetry. I do everything. She's always, my parents are always like, you can't do these things. This is not you. And every time I would hear that, my heart would break because this was who I was, and I couldn't hear that voice from anybody except for Fay. And Fay was from, I was 17 at the time, 2007. She was like, just do it. Don't care. Don't think. Just do it. Just express yourself. And and to this day, I still hear her voice just saying, just go. 3 years ago, I was suffering from like panic attacks every day, and I didn't know who to turn to. And I remember one night it was blizzarding in January. It was like a crazy blizzard outside, and it was like 12 in the morning. I had this crazy panic attack, and I called Fay, and she was like, "Just come on over." And I was just like, wow, like, you know, like, she was like, "Just come over and you could watch some PBS." And she used to watch this show. It was her little secret. It was like this show. It was like this English show. I wasn't really watching because I was kind of like going through my emotions. And she used to love this PBS like show that was like a soap opera kind of. People were like arguing, family stuff, and so she, you know, like a mother, she had some leftovers, she had some vegetables, and in Chinese tradition, it was like you had your vegetables, your chicken, your fish, and rice, and she like with her stove had so many books and clothes everywhere, crowded. There was just like no room. She just kind of like moved everything. She was like, "I'm gonna make some tea for you," and you know, and she was just like watching TV, and there it was just like that. It was just like that. Like she didn't really say much, but it was like that little thing right there was, you know, her being a mother, and so yeah. You know, I love Fay, miss her, and like Darius said, it's a calling for action. More than ever now, I feel her voice, I feel her energy in me to keep making art, keep making poetry, keep making music, travel. Another thing is like I have so much fear to travel and to leave space, and Fay's always like, just go. You know, I could hear her like, ha, like make this like laugh, like, ha. Like that's, you know, just go and you know, that's with me, and I hope that's with everyone here too.
My name is Justin. I first met Fay. I was 14, and I got into some trouble at school, and I had to do an anger management course, and it was a part of the Social Justice Network, which is how I met Dawn and Fay. And they came and they did a couple workshops, and they invited me to come to Reach. And the amount of love and support that this woman provided so many different people, it was endless and without question. I remember at one point I was talking to Fay, and we were at Project Reach. It was running late, and she's like, "I've got to go to around the corner to the restaurant before it closes." And I'm like, "Well, you don't have anything in your house?" She's like, "No, I gave my fridge to some, I think it was a fridge or a stove." And she was like, "Yeah, someone needed it, so I just gave them my fridge." And I'm just like, "Fay, like, what do you?" She's, "I'll just pick something up." And I'm just like, "What's it? Okay." And she's that type of person. She would go without so that someone else can go on easier. I remember dropping out of school. She helped me get back into Hunter. It's the same day, actually. I said, I'm not going to Connecticut, not anymore. Not me. That slow life is not. She said, "Well, let me make a couple phone calls." And that day I had an interview with Hunter, and that night I got accepted. And that is the magic I call Fay, because she had an energy about her that just didn't stop, and it hasn't stopped. I'm online and I'm seeing all these articles about her work, and I'm seeing all these links to her work, and I'm rereading her work, and she's here with me. She's here with us. As an artist, she has taught me to go and create and not apologize. Not apologize for any of my decisions in life. When my family wasn't supportive, she was there for me. Fay broke the mold, because I don't think I'll ever meet anyone as supportive and loving as Fay.
I'm Pamela Esser, and well, I guess let me think. Project Reach, I started going to Project Reach back in 1988 when I was a freshman in, I guess, high school, or going into high school. And so I actually met Fay, I think, when she was an artist in residence for one of the summer programs. And so she worked with a lot of the groups, I think CASA and the women's group. So over the years, it kind of all blurs. But what I do know about Fay, even after I left Project Reach, is that all the times that I went to visit, I would always be talking to her. Whether it's just, life in general and how things were going. And what I do always remember about her is that she was always on the go. Even in more recent years where I would be at the Brooklyn Museum and she was there and be like, oh, wow, what are you up to? And so we would catch up often in that context. And even more recently, even in the subway 2 years ago when she told me about her health. So in that respect, what I always remember is that she was just always on the go. Like she never stopped for anything. And that's what I will always just remember the conversations I had with her, whether it was just the struggles that she or anyone else would be having, or just the happy times. And also about her daughter, which now having a son, it's really to the heart. So that's really about it. I don't have many more words other than so many friends and family really do miss Fay, including myself.